You know that friend you have? Or maybe it's not a friend. Maybe it's a grandparent or cousin. Maybe it's someone who you've just known forever and they often find their way to your dinner table on festive days of the year. And every once in a while they say something that's off color or have an opinion that you don't agree with. But, you know, they've always been a little eccentric and you love them for who they are. That's often how I feel about Scripture, to be honest with you. You know, I open the Bible and I look at certain things, especially in the lectionary when I used to look at it before preaching on a Sunday. And I'd be like, whoa, that's the great-grandparent at the table who's using racial slurs. Because sometimes you just don't understand. If you don't have the context, if you haven't spent time in the text, and even as a priest, I hadn't spent enough time in the text. And if you haven't, sometimes it's hard to grasp stories about lamb's blood being spread across the doorposts of people's homes so that when God passes over to kill all the firstborns, the people living in the houses with the blood on the doorposts would be saved. Our Jewish brothers and sisters will know lots about that story of the Passover. That's the story in the text that I saw this week. But there is a line in this text. If a household is Exodus 12:4, for those of you who care. If a household is too small for a whole lamb, it shall join its closest neighbor in obtaining one. The lamb shall be divided in proportion to the number of people who eat it. And I know it's weird, this whole story about blood being spread everywhere from the lambs. But let's just focus on this one verse, just the one. Exodus 12:4, mini sermon. No matter what the lamb's for, no matter what the story is about, no matter how far-fetched and just well beyond the scope of belief it is for you to believe some of these ancient texts, at the very heart of this one, the Passover story that is both at the heart of the Jewish and the Christian story, is the Passover. This story, and in Exodus 12:4. That is, I was just checking. We learn that no one gets left behind in the tribe. It didn't matter if you were single, maybe if you've been kicked out of your home, maybe you were the lost sheep. I know it's ironic with the lamb's blood. Probably don't need to point out my own jokes. But at the very heart of this story, even in the craziness of it all, is the need to take care of one another. No matter how little you have, how much you have to share, whether you've got 6 neighbors you have to take in or not, the lamb shall be divided equally in proportion to the number of people who eat it. In the pandemic of 2020, I think Exodus is starting to make new sense to me. Because we can't leave people out by the side of the road. Whether it's God who's coming over top to take all the firstborn of Israel in the land of Egypt and only the lamb's blood can save them. Whether it's men being gunned down in the streets, or the elderly in homes being taken by a virus. No matter how much or how little we have, this story from Exodus, this story of the Passover, the story that's at the center of Holy Week and the great feast of the Jewish calendar, at the very center of it is the need to take care of those who might be forgotten. That everyone gets to eat.